Hansol wiped the sweat from his forehead. It was almost 4 in the morning, and the embassy hallways were finally quiet. His mop moved across the marble floor in steady strokes. This was his favorite time of the night. No diplomats rushing past him. No security guards telling him to hurry. Just silence and the smell of cleaning chemicals. He had been working as a janitor at the Terran embassy complex for 3 years now. The pay was decent. The hours were lonely, but that was fine. He needed the money for Dobbin's medical school. His little sister was smart, much smarter than him. She deserved to become a doctor. He had given up that dream so she could have it instead. Hansol pushed his cleaning cart toward his small chamber at the end of the maintenance corridor. The room was tiny, barely larger than a closet. It had a narrow bed, a small desk, and a locker for his belongings. But it was his space. After 10 hours of cleaning other people's messes, he just wanted to sit down and rest. He opened the door and stepped inside. The lights flickered on automatically. Hansol dropped his keys on the desk and sat on the bed. His back ached. His hands smelled like bleach. Tomorrow night would be the same. And the night after that. This was his life now. Then something impossible happened. A bright flash filled the room. Hansol jumped to his feet, his heart racing. The air shimmered like heat waves on hot pavement. And then she appeared. An alien woman stood in the middle of his chamber. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow faintly. Her body was covered in some kind of armor, but it was melting. Yes, melting. Dark green liquid dripped from the metal plates, hissing when it hit the floor. The woman stumbled forward. Her large eyes, completely black like deep space, focused on Hansol. She tried to speak, but the words came out garbled. A small device on her neck sparked and died. Her translator was broken. She fell to her knees. Hansol could see burn marks on her skin where the green substance touched her. The smell was terrible, like burning plastic mixed with rotten eggs. Whatever that liquid was, it was hurting her badly. The woman looked up at him. Her mouth moved slowly, carefully forming words in a language she barely knew. "Can you please clean me?" Hansol stood frozen. His brain tried to make sense of what was happening. An alien in his room, covered in some kind of acid, asking him to clean her. This was insane. He should call security. He should run. He should do anything except stand there like an idiot. But then he saw her hand. The green liquid was eating through her skin. Smoke rose from the wound. She was dying. Right here, right now, in his tiny maintenance room, and nobody else was here to help her. Hansol moved without thinking. He grabbed his cleaning cart and pulled it close. His hands worked automatically, years of medical school training coming back to him. He had to identify the substance first. What was it? Acid, base, organic compound? He knelt beside the woman and carefully touched the green liquid with a gloved finger. It was thick, almost gel-like. When he brought it close to his nose, the smell told him what he needed to know. Silicon-based acid. He had studied this in chemistry class. It was designed to break down certain types of metals and biological tissues. "Don't move," Hansol said, even though he wasn't sure she understood him. He grabbed a spray bottle of industrial soap from his cart, then baking soda, then his alcohol-based sanitizer. His professors would have been proud. He still remembered how to neutralize silicon-based compounds. He mixed the soap and baking soda in a bucket, creating a thick paste. Then he began applying it to her armor, working carefully. The green liquid reacted immediately, turning brown and hardening. Good. The neutralization was working. "This will hurt," he warned her. She nodded slightly, understanding his tone if not his words. Hansol worked for 20 minutes, removing the acid layer by layer. The woman's armor fell away in pieces, revealing more blue skin underneath. She was wearing a thin suit beneath the armor, but it was also damaged. He could see burn marks, some deep enough to show darker tissue underneath. She made small sounds of pain but never cried out. Hansol respected that. He tried to be gentle, but there was no gentle way to remove acid from skin. He used the alcohol sanitizer to clean the worst burns, then applied clean water to wash away the residue. As he worked, the woman watched him. Her black eyes followed his every movement. Hansol felt uncomfortable under that gaze. What was she thinking? Did she think he was stupid? Primitive? He was just a janitor cleaning her with mop supplies. She was probably some important alien diplomat. "What is your name?" she asked suddenly. Her voice was rough, but the words were clear. She must have been learning human languages. Hansel, he replied, not looking up from his work. I'm a maintenance worker here. I am Lysara, she said, ambassador of the Valari people. I was attacked. My teleporter brought me here. Random coordinates. Lucky for me, Hansel paused. Lucky? You could have died. Yes, Lysara agreed, but I did not. You saved me. A maintenance worker. This is unexpected, he heard something in her voice. Surprise, confusion, maybe even respect. Hansel went back to cleaning the burns on her shoulder. I used to study medicine, he said quietly, before I ran out of money. Ah, Lysara said. So you know healing arts, but you clean floors now. Why? Hansel shrugged. My sister needed the money more than I needed the degree. She's going to be a great doctor. Better than I ever would have been. Lysara was quiet for a moment. In my culture, she finally said, such sacrifice would be considered foolish. Everyone serves their own path, their own destiny. Well, I'm human, Hansel replied. We do foolish things for the people we love. He finished cleaning the last of the acid from her back. The worst was over. Her burns would heal, especially with proper medical treatment. She would live. Hansel sat back and looked at his work. Not bad for a janitor. The people who attacked you, Hansel said. Do they know you're here? Lysara's expression darkened. My teleporter was damaged. It sent a signal when it activated. They will trace it. Maybe not immediately, but soon. Then we need to contact embassy security, Hansel said, standing up. He reached for his communication device. No! Lysara grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. The attack came from inside the embassy. Someone in security is working with them. We cannot trust anyone. Hansel felt his stomach drop. Inside the embassy? But why would they want to kill you? Lysara released his wrist and tried to stand. She was weak but managed to stay on her feet. I was meeting with Ambassador Taeyong. We were discussing human membership in the Galactic Council. Some species do not want humans to have that power. They fear you. Fear us? Why? Hansel asked. We're new to space. We're not threatening anyone. You are unpredictable, Lysara said. She walked slowly to the door and looked out into the hallway. Your people do not follow the patterns. You do not think like we do. That makes you dangerous to the established order, and so some want to prevent your rise. Before Hansel could respond, alarm bells began ringing throughout the embassy. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Lysara looked at him, her black eyes wide with fear. They are here, she whispered. Hansel's heart pounded in his chest. Just minutes ago, his biggest worry was finishing his shift. Now he was hiding an alien ambassador from assassins. His simple, quiet life had just become very complicated. He grabbed a wrench from his tool belt. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was something. Lysara looked at him with that strange expression again, like she was seeing him for the first time. We need to move, Hansel said, surprised by how calm his voice sounded. I know every maintenance tunnel in this building. If we're lucky, I can get us out. Lysara nodded. Then we trust in human luck, she said. Together, they slipped out of the chamber and into the dark corridors. Behind them, they could hear footsteps. Heavy boots. Multiple people. The hunters were coming. Hansel led the way, moving quickly through passages he had walked 1,000 times. Beside him, a wounded alien ambassador put her life in his hands. A janitor's hands. Hands that cleaned floors and fixed pipes. Maybe, Hansel thought as they disappeared into the darkness. That was exactly what made him the right person to help her. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a human trying to do the right thing, and sometimes that was enough. The maintenance tunnels were dark and narrow. Hansel moved through them by memory, his hand trailing along the cold metal walls. Behind him, Lysara followed silently. For someone so tall, she moved with surprising grace. Even injured, even in pain, she kept pace with him. They could hear voices echoing through the embassy. Shouts, commands. The assassins were searching floor by floor. Hansel knew they had maybe 10 minutes before someone thought to check the maintenance areas. Maybe less. Where are we going? Lysara whispered. The sub-level communications room, Hansel replied. It's shielded. We can send a message from there without being detected. Contact someone trustworthy. Who can we trust? She asked. Hansel thought for a moment. My friend Junho. He works maintenance like me. He's honest. And he notices things. If something is wrong in the embassy, he'll know. They reached a junction in the tunnels. Han Sol stopped and listened. Footsteps above them. Heavy boots on the floor. At least 3 people, maybe more. The assassins were close. We need to move faster, Han Sol said. He took Lysara's hand and pulled her forward. Her skin was cool to the touch, almost cold, different from human skin. But her grip was firm. She trusted him. They turned a corner and nearly ran into a security camera. Han Sol cursed. He had forgotten about that one. If someone was monitoring the feeds, they would see them. Wait here, he told Lysara. He climbed up a maintenance ladder and reached the camera. With a quick twist of his wrench, he disconnected the power cable. The red light on the camera went dark. Problem solved, Han Sol said, climbing back down. You are resourceful, Lysara observed. In my culture, maintenance workers do not receive training in security systems. In human culture, Han Sol said with a slight smile, janitors learn a little bit of everything. We have to fix what breaks, including cameras. They continued through the tunnels. The air was stale down here, smelling of old metal and dust. Han Sol had always hated this part of the embassy. The tunnels were like a maze, easy to get lost in. But right now, that maze was protecting them. Tell me about the attack, Han Sol said as they walked. What exactly happened? Lysara was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady, but Han Sol could hear the anger beneath it. I was in a secure meeting room with Ambassador Tae-young. We were finalizing documents for human representation on the council. Then the lights went out. Someone used an electromagnetic pulse. Our guards' weapons stopped working. And then, Han Sol prompted, then they came through the doors. 4 of them, wearing masks. They had weapons that still worked. Old-fashioned slug throwers, not energy weapons. They sprayed that acid compound on me, on Tae-young too, but I had my personal teleporter. I activated it blindly, hoping it would take me somewhere safe. Han Sol felt cold. What happened to Ambassador Tae-young? I do not know, Lysara admitted. She was still alive when I teleported. But the acid works slowly on humans. She would have time. Maybe minutes. Maybe more. It depends on how much touched her skin. We need to help her, Han Sol said immediately. First, we need to survive, Lysara replied. If we die, no one will know the truth. The assassins will say it was an accident, a terrorist attack perhaps, and human membership in the council will be delayed, possibly forever. Han Sol understood. This was bigger than just one attack. This was politics, conspiracy, the kind of thing that changed history. And somehow he was right in the middle of it. They reached the sub-level. Han Sol opened a service hatch and they climbed down another ladder. The communications room was just ahead behind a locked door. Han Sol pulled out his keycard. It should work. Most maintenance workers had access to technical rooms for repairs. The lock beeped. Green light. The door slid open. Han Sol breathed a sigh of relief. They stepped inside and the door closed behind them. The communications room was small and filled with equipment. Screens lined the walls, showing various parts of the embassy. Most of the screens were dark now. The emergency lockdown had disabled many systems, but the main console was still active, glowing softly in the darkness. Han Sol sat down at the console. His fingers moved over the controls, finding the secure channel he needed. He had helped Junho install this system last year. It used old-fashioned radio frequencies, the kind that couldn't be easily jammed or traced. Junho, this is Han Sol, he said into the microphone. If you can hear this, I need help. Big trouble. Sub-level communications room. Come alone. Trust no one else. He released the button and waited. Static filled the speakers. Long seconds passed. Maybe Junho wasn't listening. Maybe he couldn't respond. Maybe the assassins had already found him. Then a voice crackled through the static. Han Sol? What's going on? The whole embassy is on lockdown. They're saying terrorists broke in. Han Sol felt relief wash over him. It's not terrorists. It's worse. Someone inside is trying to kill Ambassador Lysara, and maybe Ambassador Tae-young too. I have Lysara with me. She's injured but alive. Silence on the other end. Then Junho spoke again, his voice serious. I knew something was wrong. Security has been acting strange all night. Different faces. People I don't recognize. And they're searching the building too systematically, like they know exactly what they're looking for. Can you get help? Han Sol asked. Real help, police? Military? Already on it, Junho said. I called Earth Security Forces 20 minutes ago. They're sending a tactical team. but they're 30 minutes out. Maybe more. Can you hide until then? Hansol looked at Lysara. She was leaning against the wall, her face pale. The burns on her skin looked worse in the harsh light of the communications room. She needed medical attention soon. I'll try, Hansol said. But Lysara needs a doctor, and we need to find Tae-young. Negative on Tae-young, Junho replied, and Hansol heard the sadness in his voice. She's in the secure wing. The assassins have it locked down. I can see it on the external cameras. At least 6 hostiles, armed professional. Hansol closed his eyes. 6 armed professionals against 1 janitor and 1 wounded diplomat. The math wasn't good. We can't leave her, he said quietly. You can't save her if you're dead, Junho argued. Be smart, Hansol. Wait for the cavalry. That's the logical move. Hansol looked at Lysara again. She was watching him with those dark alien eyes. She understood what they were talking about. She knew the situation. What would a human do? She asked softly. The question caught Hansol off guard. What would a human do? The logical thing would be to hide and wait. The safe thing. The smart thing. But that wasn't really what she was asking. She was asking what made humans different, what made them unpredictable. Hansol stood up from the console. He walked to a supply locker on the wall and opened it. Inside were tools, spare parts, and emergency equipment. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, a roll of industrial tape, and a container of machine lubricant. A human would do the stupid thing, he said, turning to face Lysara. We would try to save her anyway, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if we'll probably fail, because leaving someone behind isn't who we are. Lysara's expression changed. Was that a smile? It was hard to tell with alien features, but something shifted in her eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or respect. Hansol, don't be an idiot. Junho's voice crackled from the speakers. You're not a soldier. No, Hansol agreed. I'm a janitor. Which means I know every inch of this building, every duct, every pipe, every weakness. And I know something those assassins don't. What's that? Junho asked. Hansol picked up the fire extinguisher and tested its weight. I know that this building wasn't designed for war. It was designed for diplomacy. And diplomacy requires a lot of technical infrastructure. Infrastructure that can be weaponized if you know how. He looked at the screens on the wall. Security cameras, environmental controls, emergency systems, all accessible from this room. All useful in the right hands, I'm going to cause some chaos, Hansol said. And while they're distracted, I'm going to get Ambassador Tae-young out. Or die trying. You are insane, Lysara said. But she was standing straighter now despite her injuries. I will help you. No, Hansol said firmly. You're hurt? You need to stay here and rest. When the security forces arrive, you tell them everything. About the attack. About the conspiracy. Make sure they know the truth. Lysara stared at him. You would go alone? Someone has to stay alive to tell the story, Hansol said. That's you. I'm expendable. You're not. For a long moment, Lysara said nothing. Then she reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. The gesture was awkward, clearly something she had learned from watching humans. But the meaning was clear. You are not expendable, she said. No human is. That is what I am learning from you. Hansol felt something tighten in his chest. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Then he turned to the console and began typing commands. The screens flickered to life, showing the secure wing where Ambassador Tae-young was being held. Junho, he said into the microphone, I need you to do something for me. I'm already regretting this, Junho replied. What do you need? Tell my sister I love her, Hansol said, and that her tuition is paid for the next 2 years. The money is in my locker. Code is her birthday. Hansol, Junho started. Just in case, Hansol interrupted. Now help me figure out how to turn off the gravity in the secure wing. Despite everything, he heard Junho laugh. You really are crazy. Okay. Hansol crawled through the ventilation shaft, his fire extinguisher strapped to his back. The metal was cold against his hands. Below him, he could hear voices. The assassins were talking in low tones, confident that they had everything under control. They were wrong. Junho had managed to access the building's environmental systems from his maintenance station. Right now, he was slowly increasing the temperature in the secure wing. Not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to make people uncomfortable. Hot. Distracted. Hansol reached a vent overlooking the main corridor. He carefully removed the grate and peered down. 6 assassins, just like Junho had said. 4 were alien, species he didn't recognize. 2 were human. All were armed with projectile weapons. Old technology, but effective. One of the humans was speaking into a radio. Hansol recognized him, Jiwoo, former embassy security. Hansol had cleaned his office before. He seemed like a decent guy back then. Quiet, professional. How much money did it take to make him betray his own people? The target is secured, Jiwoo was saying. Tae-young is alive but injured. The Velari ambassador escaped. We're searching for her now. A voice crackled back through the radio. Find her, kill her. Make it look like the human did it. We need this to start a war. Jiwoo nodded to himself. Understood. What about Tae-young? Keep her alive for now. She might be useful as a hostage if things go wrong. Hansol's jaw tightened. They were planning to frame humans for the murder. Start a war between Earth and the Velari Empire. How many people would die? Millions, billions? All because some alien corporations wanted to maintain their economic control. He moved carefully through the ventilation shaft, following the map in his head. He had crawled through these ducts dozens of times, fixing air filters and checking for leaks. He knew every turn, every junction. The assassins might have better weapons, but he had better knowledge. Hansol reached the secure conference room where Tae-young was being held. Through another vent, he could see her. The ambassador was tied to a chair, her hands bound behind her back. Her face was bruised, and there were burn marks on her arms where the acid had touched her, but she was conscious, alert, watching her captors with sharp eyes. 2 guards stood by the door. Both aliens. They looked bored, talking to each other in a language Hansol didn't understand. Good. Bored guards made mistakes. Hansol pulled out his radio, keeping his voice to barely a whisper. Junho, I'm in position. Time for phase 2. You sure about this? Junho asked. No, Hansol admitted. But do it anyway. You're a terrible influence, Junho said. But Hansol could hear him typing on his console. Okay, fire suppression system armed, triggering in 3, 2, 1. Alarm bells erupted throughout the secure wing. Red lights flashed, and then white foam began spraying from the ceiling vents. The fire suppression system, designed to suffocate flames without damaging sensitive equipment, filled the corridor with thick, blinding foam. The guards in the conference room jumped to their feet, shouting in confusion. They couldn't see anything through the foam. Hansol heard Jiwoo's voice over the radio, demanding to know what was happening. This was his chance. Hansol kicked out the vent grate and dropped down into the conference room. He landed hard, his knees protesting. But adrenaline kept him moving. He rushed to Ambassador Tae-young and pulled out a knife from his tool belt, cutting through the ropes binding her hands. Hansol? Tae-young stared at him in shock. What are you doing here? Saving you, Hansol said simply. Can you walk? I think so, she replied, standing up carefully. Her legs were shaky, but she stayed upright. Where's Lisara? Safe, for now. Come on, we need to move before they... The door burst open. One of the guards stumbled through, foam covering his face. He raised his weapon blindly, firing into the room. Bullets punched through the wall near Hansol's head. Hansol grabbed his fire extinguisher and sprayed it directly at the guard. The blast of compressed chemicals hit the alien in the face and he fell backward, gasping. Hansol didn't wait. He grabbed Tae-young's hand and pulled her toward the vent opening. Up, he shouted. Tae-young climbed into the vent shaft with surprising agility for someone who had been tied up for hours. Hansol followed, pulling the grate closed behind them. Below, he heard more guards entering the room, shouting in confusion. They crawled through the ventilation system as fast as they could. Behind them, the sounds of chaos continued. The foam was still spraying. Alarms were still ringing. It was beautiful disorder. Where are we going? Tae-young asked between breaths. Sub-level communications room, Hansol replied. Lissar is waiting there. Help is coming, but we need to hold out for another 20 minutes. 20 minutes might as well be 20 hours, Tae-young said. They know we escaped now. They'll be hunting us. Then we make it hard for them, Hansol said. They reached a junction in the ventilation system. Hansol stopped and pulled out his container of machine lubricant. He poured it across the metal floor of the shaft behind them, creating a slick surface. If anyone follows us, he explained, they're going to have a bad time. Tae-young actually smiled. You're surprisingly good at this for a janitor. Janitors are good at everything, Hansol replied. We just don't get credit for it. They continued crawling. Hansel's arms were getting tired. His back hurt, but he kept moving. Behind them, he heard someone enter the ventilation shaft. Heavy breathing, cursing, then a loud crash and more cursing. Someone had hit the lubricant. Hansel allowed himself a small smile. Simple solutions were often the best. They emerged from the ventilation system into a maintenance corridor. Hansel helped Tae-young down, then checked his radio. Junho, we have the package. Heading to the extraction point now. Good, Junho replied. But we have a problem. The assassins have sealed the main exits. They're not letting anyone in or out, not even the security forces when they arrive. Hansel felt his heart sink. Can they do that? Someone gave them access to the building's control systems, Junho said. This conspiracy goes deep, Hansel. Deeper than we thought. Tae-young was listening to the conversation. Her face was grim. We need to get to the main control room. Override the lockdown manually. That's on the top floor, Hansel said. Right in the middle of where the assassins are strongest. I know, Tae-young said, but it's the only way. If we don't open those doors, the security forces can't help us. And if they can't help us, we die. Simple math, Hansel wanted to argue. He wanted to find another way. But she was right. They had no choice. Okay, he said. First we get you and Lysara together. Then we figure out how to reach the control room. They moved through the corridors quickly. The embassy felt different now, threatening. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could be a threat. Hansel kept his fire extinguisher ready, even though he knew it wouldn't be much use against trained killers. They reached the sub-level communications room. Hansel knocked on the door in a specific pattern. 3 short, 2 long, 1 short. The code he and Junho had agreed on. The door opened. Lysara stood there looking relieved. You succeeded, she said, seeing Ambassador Tae-young. Barely, Hansel admitted, closing the door behind them. And we're not out of this yet. Tae-young and Lysara embraced briefly, a gesture of solidarity between diplomats. Then they turned to business. That's what made them good at their jobs. They could put emotions aside and focus on survival. The building is sealed, Tae-young explained. We need to reach the main control room and override the lockdown. But it's heavily guarded. How many guards? Lysara asked. At least 4. Junho's voice came through the radio. I can see them on the cameras. All armed. All alert. They know someone is trying to resist. 4 against 3, Hansel said. And only one of us knows how to fight. He looked at Tae-young. As an ambassador, she would have received combat training. All high-ranking officials did. I can fight, Tae-young confirmed. But I'm injured, and I'm not armed. I can fight too, Lysara added. My people are warriors before we are diplomats. But I am also injured, and also not armed. They all looked at Hansel. He was the only one not hurt. But he was also the only one with no combat training at all. Just a janitor with cleaning supplies and determination. I have an idea, Hansel said slowly. But you're going to think it's stupid. All your ideas are stupid, Junho commented from the radio. That's why they work. Hansel smiled despite the situation. He walked to the supply locker and started pulling out equipment. Industrial tape, cleaning chemicals, spray bottles, a toolkit, and 1 more fire extinguisher. What are you planning? Lysara asked. Hansel turned to face them, his arms full of random maintenance supplies. I'm planning to do what humans do best. I'm going to improvise. Tae-young and Lysara exchanged glances. Then, almost simultaneously, they both smiled. It was a strange sight. 2 powerful diplomats, beaten and burned, smiling at the crazy plan of a maintenance worker. Humans are insane, Lysara said, but there was admiration in her voice. Let us be insane together. Hansel began explaining his plan. It was ridiculous. It relied on luck, timing, and the assassins making several mistakes. But it was a plan. And right, the elevator shaft was dark and cold. Hansel climbed the maintenance ladder 1 rung at a time, his supplies hanging from his belt. Above him, Tae-young climbed with difficulty. Below him, Lysara moved more slowly, her burns making every movement painful. But they kept climbing. The control room was on the 20th floor. They were currently on sub-level 2. That meant 22 floors of climbing. Hansel's arms already hurt, but he pushed the pain away. There would be time to rest later. Maybe. How much further? Tae-young asked, her voice strained. 15 more floors, Hansel replied. We're making good time. Good time, Lysara muttered from below. Human definitions are strange. Despite everything, Han Solo smiled. They were hurt, tired, and being hunted by professional killers. But they could still joke. Maybe that was another human trait worth spreading across the galaxy. The ability to laugh in the face of death. They passed the 10th floor. Han Solo could hear sounds from the embassy through the elevator doors. Footsteps, shouted commands. The assassins were searching every level now. It was only a matter of time before someone thought to check the elevator shafts. Keep moving, Han Solo urged. Almost there. They reached the 18th floor. Han Solo's lungs burned. His hands were raw from gripping the cold metal ladder. But the control room was just 2 floors above. They were going to make it. They had to. Then the elevator above them started moving. Han Solo looked up and saw the metal box descending toward them. Someone had called the elevator. In seconds, it would crush them against the shaft walls. "Emergency hatch," Han Solo shouted. He grabbed Tae-young and pulled her toward a small door in the shaft wall. These hatches existed on every floor for maintenance access. He yanked it open and pushed Tae-young through. Then he reached down for Lysara. The alien ambassador was moving too slowly. Her injuries made climbing difficult. The elevator was getting closer. The grinding of machinery filled the shaft. They had seconds. Han Solo made a decision. He climbed down 2 rungs, grabbed Lysara with one arm, and literally hauled her upward. She was heavier than a human, but adrenaline made him strong. He shoved her through the emergency hatch just as the elevator passed where they had been standing. They collapsed on the floor of the maintenance corridor, breathing hard. That had been too close. "Thank you," Lysara said quietly. Han Solo just nodded, not trusting his voice. His heart was still racing. They had almost died. Again. How many times could they get lucky? "We're on the 18th floor," Tae-young said, checking their position. "The control room is 2 floors up, but now we can't use the elevator shaft." "Stairs," Han Solo said, standing up. "The emergency stairwell. It's usually locked, but I have the key." They made their way through the maintenance corridor to the emergency stairwell. Han Solo's master key worked perfectly. The door opened with a soft click. They entered the stairwell and began climbing again. 2 floors had never felt so long. Every step echoed in the concrete stairwell. Every sound made them freeze, listening for pursuit. But they reached the 20th floor without encountering anyone. Han Solo carefully opened the door and peered into the corridor. The control room was at the end of the hall. 4 guards stood outside it just as Jun-ho had reported. They looked alert, professional. This wasn't going to be easy. Han Solo pulled back and whispered to his companions. 4 guards, armed. We need to distract them somehow. "I could create a diversion," Tae-young suggested. "Draw them away." "Too dangerous," Han Solo said. "They'll shoot you on sight." "Then what do you suggest?" Lysara asked. Han Solo thought hard. He had cleaning supplies, a fire extinguisher, some industrial tape. How could he use these against armed guards? Then an idea came to him, stupid, risky, but maybe crazy enough to work. "Stay here," he told them. "When I give the signal, run for the control room. Don't stop for anything." "What are you going to do?" Tae-young asked. Han Solo just smiled. "Something stupid." Then he was gone, moving back down the stairwell. He descended 1 floor and found what he needed. A janitor's closet. He opened it and pulled out a cleaning cart. Then he took off his maintenance uniform jacket and put on a clean one from the closet. He messed up his hair a bit, made himself look tired and confused. Then Han Solo pushed the cleaning cart to the elevator and went up to the 20th floor. The doors opened. He stepped out, pushing his cart casually like he belonged there, like he had no idea anything was wrong. The 4 guards immediately pointed their weapons at him. Han Solo stopped, raising his hands, trying to look scared. It wasn't hard. He was terrified. "Don't shoot," he said in a shaky voice. "I'm just a janitor. I got trapped when the lockdown happened. I've been hiding. Please don't hurt me." The guards looked at each other. One of them, a human, stepped forward. Han Solo recognized him too. Min-soo, another former security officer, another traitor. "What are you doing up here?" Min-soo demanded. "I was cleaning the executive offices when the alarms went off," Han Solo lied smoothly. "I hid in a supply closet. I've been too scared to come out. Is it safe now? Can I leave?" Min-soo studied him suspiciously. "You work here? What's your name?" "Park," Han Solo said, using a fake name. "I'm new. Started 3 weeks ago." One of the alien guards said something in a harsh language. Min-soo nodded and turned back to Han Solo. My friend thinks we should kill you. Just to be safe. Han Sol felt ice in his stomach. Please, he begged. I'm nobody. I haven't seen anything. I just want to go home. Minsu seemed to consider this. Then he smiled. It was not a nice smile. Actually, maybe you can help us. We're looking for someone. A maintenance worker named Han Sol. You know him? Han Sol's blood ran cold. They knew his name. Which meant they knew he had helped Lysara. Which meant they knew he was a threat. I think I've seen him around, Han Sol said carefully. Why? He's harboring a terrorist, Minsu said. An alien terrorist who tried to kill Ambassador Tae Young. We need to find him. Bring him to justice, so that was the story they were selling. Lysara was the terrorist. Humans were the victims. It would work perfectly. Start a war and make humans look like heroes. I haven't seen him, Han Sol said. But if I do, I'll report it immediately. Minsu stepped closer. Too close. Han Sol could smell coffee on his breath. You sure about that? You look nervous, like you're hiding something. I'm nervous because you're pointing guns at me. Han Sol replied, letting real fear into his voice. Minsu laughed. Fair point. He started to lower his weapon. The other guards relaxed slightly. That was the moment Han Sol had been waiting for. He grabbed the fire extinguisher from his cart and sprayed it directly into Minsu's face. The blast of chemicals blinded the traitor and he staggered backward, screaming. Han Sol didn't stop. He swung the fire extinguisher like a club, hitting another guard in the head. The alien went down hard. Then Han Sol kicked his cleaning cart toward the other two guards. Bottles of chemicals spilled across the floor, creating a slippery mess. Now, Han Sol shouted. Tae Young and Lysara burst from the stairwell. Tae Young moved like a fighter, delivering a precise strike to one guard's throat. The alien collapsed, gasping. Lysara, despite her injuries, tackled the last guard, using her size and weight to bring him down. It was over in seconds. 4 guards neutralized. Han Sol couldn't believe it had worked. Minsu was still rolling on the ground, clawing at his eyes. The others were unconscious or stunned. Quick, Tae Young said, running to the control room door. She pulled out a keycard taken from one of the guards. The door opened. They rushed inside. The control room was filled with screens and computers. This was the heart of the embassy's systems. From here they could control everything. Doors, communications, security, everything. Tae Young sat down at the main console and her fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm overriding the lockdown. Opening all exits. The security forces should be able to enter in 3, 2, 1, done. Alarms changed tone throughout the building. Red lights turned green. The lockdown was lifted. Help was coming. Han Sol slumped against the wall, exhausted. They had done it. Against all odds, they had actually done it. Security forces are entering the building, Tae Young reported, watching the monitors. Multiple teams, armed and ready. The assassins are being surrounded. It's over? Han Sol asked, hardly daring to believe it. Almost, Lysara said. She was watching a different screen. Look, Han Sol looked. On the screen he could see Jiwoo, the lead assassin, the traitor who had organized everything. He was in the main embassy hall and he wasn't trying to escape. He was holding something in his hands. A device of some kind. What is that? Han Sol asked. Tae Young's face went pale. It's a dead man's switch, connected to explosives. If we kill him or if he lets go, the whole building explodes. How much explosive? Lysara asked. Enough to level 3 city blocks, Tae Young replied grimly. He's not planning to escape. He's planning to destroy the evidence, and everyone in it. Han Sol felt his brief moment of victory crumble. They had saved themselves from the assassins, but now they faced something worse. A suicide bomber with enough explosive to kill thousands. Can we evacuate? He asked. Not in time, Tae Young said. There are still hundreds of people in the building, staff, diplomats, security personnel. Even if we order an evacuation now, most won't make it out before he triggers the bomb. Then we need to stop him. Lysara. The main embassy hall was vast and beautiful. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Flags from 100 worlds hanging from the high ceiling. Han Sol had mopped these floors 1,000 times. He knew every tile, every corner. But he had never seen the hall like this. Empty. Silent. Waiting. Jiwoo stood in the center of the hall. He looked tired. His security uniform was dirty and torn, but his eyes were alert. Dangerous. And his hand held the dead man's switch steady. Hansol walked slowly across the marble floor. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Each step felt like a mile. Each breath felt like his last. But he kept walking until he was standing just 10 feet from the man who wanted to destroy everything. "Hansol," Jiwoo said, sounding surprised. "I didn't expect to see you. I thought you'd be hiding somewhere, waiting for this to be over." "I was," Hansol admitted. "But then I realized hiding won't help anyone. So here I am," Jiwoo studied him. "You know what this is, right?" He held up the switch. "One move and this entire building becomes a crater. Thousands dead. The embassy destroyed. Evidence gone. The conspiracy succeeds, I know," Hansol said. "But I also know you don't really want to do this." Jiwoo laughed bitterly. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you were a good security officer," Hansol replied. "I know you saved lives during the fire 2 years ago. I know you have a sister in medical school. And I know that somewhere inside you're still that person, the one who protects people instead of killing them." Something flickered across Jiwoo's face, pain maybe or regret. But it was gone quickly. "That person is dead. The galaxy killed him. Do you know how much they offered me? Enough money to give my sister everything. Enough to buy her future. All I had to do was help them. Just follow orders. And now those orders include killing thousands of innocent people," Hansol said quietly, "including your sister. She works at the embassy hospital. Did you forget that?" Jiwoo's hand tightened on the switch. Don't use her against me." "I'm not using her," Hansol said. "I'm reminding you who you are. You're not a killer. You're someone who loves his sister so much he'd do anything for her. I understand that. I gave up medical school for my sister. I work as a janitor so she can become a doctor. I know what it's like to sacrifice everything for family." "Then you understand why I did this," Jiwoo said. "No," Hansol replied. "I understand the fear, the desperation, the feeling that you have no choices. But you always have a choice. You chose to take their money. You chose to betray your people. And now you're choosing to kill thousands, including the sister you're trying to protect." Jiwoo was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was hollow. "The bomb is already armed. Even if I wanted to stop this, I can't. The moment I release this switch, it explodes. The moment I'm killed, it explodes. There's no way out." "There's always a way out," Hansol said. "Let me help you. We have bomb experts outside. They can disarm it, but you have to trust me. You have to let me try. Why would you help me?" Jiwoo asked, genuine confusion in his voice. "I tried to kill you. I tried to kill everyone you saved. Why would you risk your life for me?" Hansol thought about that question. Why was he doing this? It would be easier to run, safer to let Jiwoo blow himself up alone. But that wasn't who humans were. That wasn't who Hansol was. "Because you're still human," Hansol said simply. "You made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But you're still one of us, and we don't leave each other behind. Even when we should. Even when it's stupid. That's what makes us different from the rest of the galaxy. We believe everyone deserves a second chance." Jiwoo's eyes were wet now, tears running down his face. "I don't deserve a second chance." "Maybe not," Hansol agreed. "But your sister deserves to have her brother back. The real one. The one who protects people. So let me help you, please." The silence stretched between them. Hansol could hear his own heartbeat, could feel sweat running down his back. This was the moment. Either Jiwoo would agree or they would all die. "Okay," Jiwoo whispered. "Okay, but you need to understand. The switch is pressure sensitive. If I release it even slightly, the bomb triggers. Someone needs to hold it while the experts work. It could take hours. And if anything goes wrong, whoever is holding it dies first." "Then I'll hold it," Hansol said immediately. "You don't understand," Jiwoo said. "Hours, standing perfectly still. Not moving, not shaking. Perfect pressure. If your hand cramps, if you sneeze, if you do anything wrong, you die." "I understand," Hansol replied. "And I'm still volunteering. Because that's what humans do." Jiwoo stared at him like he was seeing him for the first time. "You're insane. You know that?" "So I've been told," Hansol said with a small smile. "Now slowly, very slowly, let me put my hand over yours. We'll transfer the pressure together. Nice and easy." Hansol stepped closer. His hand reached out, shaking slightly. He placed it over Jiwoo's hand on the switch. The metal was warm from Jiwoo's grip. Hansol could feel the slight pressure needed to keep it depressed. "Ready?" Hansol asked. Jiwoo nodded. Together they slowly adjusted their grip. Hansel felt the full weight of the switch against his palm. It was heavier than he expected. Or maybe that was just the weight of all the lives depending on him keeping it pressed. On 3, Jiwoo said. 1, 2, 3. Jiwoo pulled his hand away. For one terrifying moment, Hansel felt the switch move slightly. But he adjusted quickly, applying just the right pressure. The switch stayed depressed. The bomb didn't explode. Hansel was holding a dead man's switch.
One mistake and thousands would die. You did it, Jiwoo said, backing away slowly.
I can't believe you actually did it. Don't celebrate yet, Hansel said through gritted teeth. Get the bomb squad now. Jiwoo ran toward the entrance. Security forces swarmed into the hall, weapons raised. They surrounded Hansel but kept their distance. Everyone could see the switch in his hand. Everyone understood what it meant. Taeyoung and Lysara appeared at the edge of the hall. They looked terrified. Hansel tried to smile reassuringly, but his face felt frozen. His arm was already starting to ache from holding the perfect position. A woman in bomb squad armor approached carefully. I'm Lieutenant Subin, she said. Explosive ordnance disposal. I'm going to talk you through this, okay? Okay, Hansel replied. His voice sounded strange. Distant. First, don't move, Subin said. I know that sounds obvious, but I need you to understand. No scratching. No shifting weight. No deep breaths. Keep everything as still as possible. Got it, Hansel said. Good, now I'm going to examine the device. It's going to take time. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. Can you hold on that long? Hansel wanted to say no, wanted to admit he was terrified. That his arm already hurt. That he wasn't sure he could do this. But instead he said, yes, do what you need to do. Subin nodded and began working. She moved around Hansel carefully, examining the wiring visible at his belt where the bomb was attached. Other bomb squad members brought equipment, scanners, tools. Everything moved in slow motion. Hansel stood perfectly still. He focused on his breathing, slow, steady. Don't think about the ache in his arm. Don't think about the bomb at his waist. Don't think about death. Just breathe. Just exist. Just hold the switch. Talk to me, Subin said as she worked. Tell me about yourself. It helps to stay focused on something else. I'm a janitor, Hansel said. His voice was strained. I clean floors. Fix things. Nothing special. You're holding a dead man's switch to save thousands of lives, Subin replied. That's pretty special. Just doing what needed to be done, Hansel said. Very human of you, came Lysara's voice. She had moved closer, though still keeping a safe distance. That is what I have learned tonight. Humans do what needs to be done even when it is impossible. Hansel wanted to look at her, to see her face. But he couldn't move his head. He could only stare straight ahead at the crystal chandelier above him. It was beautiful. Funny how he'd never really looked at it before. He'd cleaned around it hundreds of times but never actually saw it. Time passed. Hansel wasn't sure how much. His arm felt like fire now, every muscle screaming. But he kept the pressure steady. The switch stayed depressed. Life continued. Almost there, Subin said. I've traced the main circuit. But there's a secondary trigger. If I cut the wrong wire, it blows anyway. I need to be absolutely certain before I make the cut. Take your time, Hansel said, though his body was begging her to hurry. His hand was cramping. His arm was shaking. How much longer could he hold on? He thought about Dabin, his little sister. She would be starting her surgical rotation next month. She'd be a great doctor, better than he would have been. That thought gave him strength. He had sacrificed his dreams for her. He could sacrifice a little more time, a little more pain. Found it, Subin said suddenly. The secondary trigger. It's clever, very clever. But I can bypass it. Give me 2 more minutes, 2 minutes. Hansel could do 2 minutes. He had to, there was no other option. So he stood there, holding the switch, holding death at bay through sheer stubborn refusal to give up. The seconds crawled by. Hansel's vision started to blur. His legs felt weak, but his hand stayed steady. That was all that mattered. The hand, the switch, the pressure. Okay, Subin said. I'm making the cut. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't do anything. Hansel heard a small snip, the sound of wire cutters. The Hansel woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, clean sheets, the smell of antiseptic. For a moment, he thought he had dreamed everything. The alien ambassador, the assassins, the bomb, All of it just a weird nightmare. Then he tried to move his arm and pain shot through his shoulder. No, it had been real. Very real. You're awake. A familiar voice. Hansol turned his head carefully and saw his sister Dobbin sitting beside his bed. Her eyes were red from crying. Hey, Hansol said. His voice was rough. Don't cry. I'm okay. You held a bomb for 2 hours, Dobbin said, tears flowing again. 2 hours? Do you know what could have happened? Do you know how close you came to dying? Pretty close, Hansol admitted. But I didn't die. Everyone is safe. That's what matters, Dobbin shook her head. You're an idiot. A brave, stupid idiot, and I love you. She hugged him carefully, avoiding his injured arm. Hansol hugged her back with his good arm. For a moment, they just held each other. Brother and sister, family. How long was I out? Hansol asked. 3 days. Dobbin replied, sitting back down. You collapsed from exhaustion. The doctors said your muscles were so strained from holding that position, you might have permanent damage. But they think with physical therapy you'll recover fully. 3 days, Hansol repeated. What happened? What did I miss? Dobbin smiled. Everything. You're famous now. The whole galaxy knows your name. The janitor who saved thousands. The human who showed everyone what humanity really means. It's all over the news. Hansol felt uncomfortable. I don't want to be famous. I just did what anyone would do. That's exactly what makes it special, said another voice. Lysara entered the hospital room. She looked much better than the last time Hansol had seen her. Her burns were healing. Her skin had regained its glow. You did what anyone would do, but in most of the galaxy, no one would have done it. That is the difference. Ambassador. Hansol started to sit up, but Lysara waved him back down. Please rest, she said. You have earned it. I came to thank you personally. You saved my life twice, once with cleaning supplies and once with courage. I am in your debt. No debt, Hansol said. Just glad you're okay. And Ambassador Tae-young? Is she all right? She is well, Lysara confirmed. She wanted to visit, but she is at the Galactic Council, presenting evidence of the conspiracy. The investigation is moving forward quickly. Many arrests have been made. What about Jiwoo? Hansol asked quietly. Lysara's expression became serious. He is in custody. He confessed everything. Named everyone involved in the conspiracy. The Corvex Consortium is facing severe sanctions. Several of their executives will stand trial. Jiwoo will also face trial, but his cooperation and your testimony may reduce his sentence. Good, Hansol said. He made terrible choices. But he's not evil. Just desperate and scared. He deserves a chance to make things right. Again, very human, Lysara observed. You see the possibility of redemption where others see only guilt. This perspective is spreading among the council members. Many are reconsidering their views on humanity. Does that mean Earth will get a council seat? Dobbin asked, leaning forward with interest. It means the vote is very close, Lysara replied. Before the attack, human membership seemed unlikely. Now, after seeing what humans are capable of, many are advocating for your inclusion. The vote will happen in 2 weeks. Hansol felt the weight of that statement. Everything that had happened, all the danger, all the fear, it might actually lead to something good. Humanity might finally have a voice in galactic affairs. There is something else, Lysara said. I have a proposition for you. When you recover, I would like you to come work for me as a cultural liaison. Help me teach the galaxy about humans. Show them what I have learned, that your people are not just warriors or merchants or diplomats. You are janitors and students and siblings who sacrifice for each other. You are ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Hansol was stunned. Me, a cultural liaison? I'm not qualified. I'm just a maintenance worker. That is exactly why you are qualified, Lysara insisted. The galaxy has met human leaders, human soldiers, human scientists, but they have not met humans like you. Regular people living regular lives. That is what they need to see. That is what will change minds. Hansol looked at Dobbin. She smiled encouragingly. You should do it, she said. You've been hiding your potential for years, taking care of me instead of yourself. But I'm okay now. I have scholarships. I have support. You don't need to sacrifice anymore. It's time for you to live your own life. I don't know, Hansol said. I'm not a hero. I'm not special. Yes, you are, said Junho, appearing in the doorway. You're the guy who saved the galaxy with a fire extinguisher and determination. That's pretty special. He walked over and clasped Han Solo's good hand. "And you're my best friend, which means you're stuck listening to my advice. Take the job, see the galaxy, stop mopping floors and start changing the universe." Han Solo felt tears in his eyes. He had spent years being invisible. The janitor nobody noticed, the dropout who gave up his dreams. And now suddenly people were seeing him, really seeing him, and what they saw was worth something. "Okay," Han Solo said. "I'll do it. But on one condition, I want to create a program, bring regular people from Earth and other worlds together. Workers, artists, families. Not just diplomats and officials. Let everyone see what we're really like." Lysara's eyes brightened. "A cultural exchange program for ordinary citizens. That is brilliant. I will propose it to the council. With recent events, I believe they will approve. The Human Connection Project," Dobbin suggested, or something like that. "The Human Factor Initiative," Junho countered. "Because humans are the unpredictable factor the galaxy needs." They all laughed. It felt good to laugh. After days of fear and pain, laughter was healing. Han Solo realized something important. He wasn't alone anymore. He had people who believed in him, people who saw his value, and that made all the difference. Over the next week, visitors came and went. Ambassador Tae Young visited, bringing official thanks from Earth's government. Su Bin, the bomb squad lieutenant, visited and told him about proper bomb disposal techniques. Even some of the alien diplomats visited, curious about the human who had saved them. Each visitor left Han Solo with the same message: "You matter. What you did matters. Who you are matters." It was overwhelming and humbling and wonderful all at once. On his last day in the hospital, Han Solo stood at the window looking out over New Seoul. The city stretched below him, millions of people living their lives, working, loving, struggling, each one important, each one worthy. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not technology, not strength, but the simple understanding that everyone mattered, that the janitor was as important as the ambassador, that ordinary lives were valuable lives. The door opened and Lysara entered. "Ready to leave?" she asked. "Almost," Han Solo said. "I need to do something first." He walked to his locker and pulled out his old maintenance uniform. He looked at it for a long moment. This uniform had defined him for 3 years. The janitor, the invisible worker, the man who cleaned up other people's messes, but he wasn't just that anymore. He was also the man who saved lives, the cultural liaison, the voice for ordinary people. He could be both, the janitor and the hero, because those things weren't opposites. They were the same. Just different perspectives. Han Solo carefully folded the uniform and placed it in his bag. He would keep it. A reminder of where he came from, who he really was beneath all the new titles and attention. "I'm ready," he told Lysara. They left the hospital together. Outside, a crowd had gathered. People wanting to see the famous janitor. Han Solo felt nervous, but Lysara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "They are here because you inspired them," she said. "Show them the human who saved the galaxy." Han Solo stepped forward. The crowd cheered. Cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. He raised his hand for silence, and amazingly, they quieted. "I'm not a hero," Han Solo said. His voice carried across the crowd. "I'm just a person who did what needed to be done." And that's the thing about humans. We all have that capacity. Every single one of us can be extraordinary when the moment requires it. Not because we're special, but because we choose to care. We choose to help. We choose to believe that everyone matters. That's what makes us human, and that's what we'll bring to the galaxy. The crowd erupted in applause. Han Solo saw people crying, smiling, nodding in agreement. He had said what they needed to hear, what they already knew in their hearts. That being ordinary was not a limitation. It was a strength. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Junho appeared beside Han Solo. "Good speech," he said. "But you forgot to mention the fire extinguisher." "That was the best part," Han Solo laughed. "Next time." "There's going to be a next time?" Junho asked. "Definitely," Han Solo replied. "I'm going to be giving a lot of speeches, apparently. As a cultural liaison, still getting used to the idea." "Well, at least you'll have good stories to tell," Junho said. "Remember that time you saved the galaxy with cleaning supplies?" "How could I forget?" Han Solo said. They stood together looking at the city. 2 maintenance workers. 2 friends. Two ordinary people who had been part of something extraordinary. Are you going to miss it? Junho asked. The simple life? Mopping floors? Fixing pipes? Han Sol thought about it. Sometimes the Galactic Council Station was massive. A city in space. Hundreds of species lived here, working together to govern thousands of worlds. Han Sol felt very small as he walked through the grand corridors. Everywhere he looked, he saw aliens of shapes and colors he had never imagined. Some had wings. Some had tentacles. Some looked almost human. All of them stared at him as he passed. They knew who he was. The human who held the bomb. The janitor who became a hero. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Laysara walked beside him, guiding him through the station. Dobbin was on his other side, equally amazed by everything around them. Ambassador Taeyong led the way, her diplomatic credentials getting them through security checkpoints without delay. The council chamber is ahead, Taeyong explained. The vote happens in 2 hours. You'll speak before the vote? Keep it simple. Tell them what you told me. What being human means was I'm terrified, Han Sol admitted. Good, Taeyong said with a smile. Fear means you care about getting it right. Just be yourself. That's what changed Lysara's mind. That's what will change theirs. They entered a waiting room. It was comfortable but formal. Han Sol sat down and tried to calm his racing heart. In 2 hours, he would address the most powerful beings in the galaxy. What could a janitor possibly say that would matter to them? Dobbin sat beside him and took his hand. You're going to be amazing, she said. You always are when it matters. I saved you by giving up medical school, Han Sol said quietly. I saved Lysara with cleaning supplies. I saved the embassy by standing still for 2 hours. I'm not amazing. I'm just stubborn. Stubborn is good, Dobbin replied. Stubborn gets things done. Stubborn changes the world. Time passed slowly. Han Sol tried to prepare a speech in his head, but the words wouldn't come. What could he say? How could he make them understand? He was starting to panic when Lysara approached him. Walk with me, she said. I want to show you something. Han Sol followed her out of the waiting room. They walked through corridors until they reached a large window overlooking space. Stars stretched in every direction. Endless. Beautiful. Terrifying. This is the galaxy we are fighting to include you in, Lysara said. Thousands of species. Millions of worlds. All trying to coexist. But we have problems. Old problems that we cannot seem to solve. Now what kind of problems? Han Sol asked. We are too rigid, Lysara explained. Too stuck in old ways. Our societies are built on strict hierarchies. Everyone has their place. Everyone knows their role. And no one questions it. But that means we cannot adapt. Cannot change. Cannot grow, she turned to look at him. Then humans arrived. And you confused everything. You have janitors who know chemistry. You have dropouts who become heroes. You have ordinary people who do impossible things. You do not follow our patterns. And that terrifies us, but it also gives us hope. Hope for what? Han Sol asked. Hope that change is possible, Lysara said. Hope that we can break free from our rigid systems. Hope that everyone can matter. Not just those born into the right position. You showed me that. A janitor saved an ambassador. That should be impossible in my culture. But you made it real. And if you can do that, maybe we all can. Han Sol looked out at the stars. He understood now. This wasn't just about Earth joining the Council. It was about changing the entire galaxy. About showing them a different way to live. A way where everyone mattered. Where anyone could be important, that's a lot of pressure, he said. Yes, Lysara agreed. But you have already carried that pressure. When you held the bomb, you carried the weight of thousands of lives. This is just words. And you are good with words when they matter. They returned to the waiting room. Soon after, an official came to escort them to the council chamber. Han Sol's heart pounded as they walked through massive doors into the largest room he had ever seen. The council chamber was circular, with seats rising in tiers all around. Hundreds of council members sat watching as Han Sol entered. Some looked curious. Some looked hostile. All looked important and powerful. Han Sol walked to the center of the chamber. A platform waited there with a microphone. He stepped onto the platform and looked around at all the alien faces watching him. This was it. The moment everything came down to, a voice spoke from somewhere above. Han Sol of Earth. You have been invited to address this council before we vote on human membership. The floor is yours, Han Sol took a breath. Then another. He thought about everything that had happened. The midnight visitor, the escape, the bomb, the choice to help when helping seemed impossible. And he knew what to say. "I'm not a diplomat," Han Sol began. "I'm not a politician or a scientist or a soldier. I'm a janitor. I clean floors. I fix broken things. I work night shifts while everyone else sleeps. In most societies, people like me are invisible. Nobody important. Nobody worth listening to." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But a week ago, an alien ambassador appeared in my room, covered in acid, asking me to clean her. And I could have said no. Could have called security. Could have protected myself. But I didn't. Because in human society, we believe everyone deserves help. Everyone matters. From the highest leader to the lowest worker, we're all equally human." Some council members were leaning forward now, listening intently. Han Sol continued. "I saved Ambassador Lysara with cleaning supplies. Basic chemicals. Nothing special. Just knowledge I had from medical school, which I left to support my sister. And that's the thing about humans. We don't waste potential. A dropout can still save lives. A janitor can still think like a doctor, because we don't believe your job defines your worth." Later, I held a bomb for 2 hours. My arm felt like it was on fire. Every muscle screamed. It would have been easier to let go, to give up. But I didn't, because thousands of lives depended on me staying strong. And when humans know people are depending on them, we endure. We push through pain. We refuse to quit. Not because we're better than anyone else, but because we choose to care. Han Sol's voice grew stronger. "You're voting on whether humans should join this council, whether we deserve a voice in galactic affairs. And I'm here to tell you that we do. Not because we're perfect, not because we're powerful, but because we bring something the galaxy needs. We bring the belief that anyone can matter, that change is possible, that rigid hierarchies don't have to define us forever." He looked directly at the council members now. "I'm proof of that. A janitor standing in front of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, speaking as an equal. That shouldn't be possible in your systems. But humans make the impossible real. We believe in second chances, in redemption, in the power of ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And if you let us join this council, we'll share that belief with everyone." "But I also understand your fear," Han Sol added. "We're unpredictable. We don't follow the patterns. We make choices that seem illogical. A janitor risks his life for strangers. A traitor confesses and seeks redemption. A wounded diplomat trusts a maintenance worker. These things don't make sense in your systems. But they make sense to us. Because humans believe that logic isn't the only thing that matters. Compassion matters. Hope matters. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today matters." Han Sol took a final breath. "So vote however you want. Give us a seat or don't. But know this. Humans are here. We're part of this galaxy now. And we're going to keep being human. Keep caring when it's illogical. Keep trying when it seems impossible. Keep believing that everyone matters. And maybe, just maybe, that belief will spread. And the galaxy will become a place where a janitor can save an ambassador, where anyone can be important, where everyone gets a chance to matter." He stepped back from the microphone. The chamber was silent. Han Sol couldn't tell if that was good or bad. Then slowly one council member began to clap. Then another. Then more. Within seconds, half the chamber was applauding. The other half sat silent, but they looked thoughtful. Considering, Han Sol left the platform and returned to where Tae-young and Lysara waited. Dubin hugged him tightly. "That was perfect," she whispered. "You were perfect." "The vote will proceed now," the voice from above announced. "Council members, indicate your position on human membership." Han Sol watched as lights appeared on a massive display board. Green for yes, red for no. The lights flickered and changed as council members made their choices. It was close, very close. Red and green lights battled for dominance. Han Sol held his breath. This was it. Everything they had fought for came down to this moment. The lights stopped changing. The final count appeared. Han Sol couldn't read the alien numbers, but he saw Tae-young's face light up, saw Lysara's expression of joy. By a majority vote, the voice announced, "Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Full membership will be reviewed in 5 years, pending successful integration." The chamber erupted in noise, some cheering, some protesting, but the decision was made. Humans had a voice in the galaxy now. They mattered. Han Sol felt tears on his face. They had done it. Against all odds. Against the conspiracy. against those who wanted to keep humans small and powerless. They had won. Later, after the ceremony, after the speeches, after the celebrations, Han Solo found himself alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened,